Tom, tell us about your second pick for us.
Okay, so my second pick, it's in the Farmers Weekly, guy Ed Henderson, and it was also in the Farmers Guardian and various other journals I saw about AHDB sponsoring a trial and project of using DNA samples to ensure cattle traceability. So I picked this because it's fairly pertinent to what I do, and I guess quite an important point in an industry which has had its scandals in the past. I think this article really talks about how collecting, DNA swabs in the abattoir will then allow the food chain to trace back when it goes into further processed products, so into ready meals and things, to ensure that what's being claimed can actually be scientifically proven based on that DNA within that product. So I think it's a really important one for consumer confidence, and it also will make the UK and British food chain even more sort of secure and hopefully take us forward as in terms of hitting those high quality markers and credentials, that it's a really important part of that. So this work ongoing with AHDB, they funded the project and they're working with the Association of Independent Meat Suppliers and the British Meat Processors Association, NFU and Identigen to do this. So it's quite, some big hitters getting involved in this. And as I said, they collect the samples at the point of slaughter and then associate that with the animal's ear tag and other relevant data, and then that's a reference database to then be able to trace the meat back to as it goes. And this is predominantly around further processed products, because I think the traceability around, prime cuts into retail is fairly logical and easy to do. This is when products sort of end up way down the supply chain in various different formats. So I thought it was an interesting one. It's something as a beef business we started doing a couple of years ago in terms of protecting ourselves as a premium brand within that, to ensure that we could have that DNA reference database to then trace back to.
Unsurprisingly, I was really interested by this story. And I guess, as we know, a lot of the places, and I'm really interested to hear you guys are doing it as well, have been doing DNA and DNA traceback for quite a long time. And I think getting the Association of Independent Meat Suppliers, which I know they've lobbied harder for this project, is great, because it helps the smaller SMEs that maybe haven't had access to this sort of technology before involved. And I think you're totally right in terms of further processed product. And I think the other area it'll really help access is food service, whereas, they've got dedicated supply chains into niche restaurants, and some of these chains are getting bigger and bigger, and then they can have that trace back and that better communication right through to the end consumer. So I think it is a really exciting step forward. And I know in the UK, we always talk about, it'd be great to have a Meat Standards Australia type quality standard for meat. And we've never quite got there for a myriad of reasons. But I'm really pleased to see this is coming on stream, where some of the international players do this as standard. So it's good to see. What do you think, Julia, I don't want to call you a non-meat person, because you so someone that wrote about, I don't know how many articles about Horsegate, you probably know a lot more about meat than I do, but what's your, give us an objective view rather than me just sat here looking at rose-tinted spectacles. Will consumers think we're doing this already?
I don't know. I don't think you've got particularly rose-tinted spectacles on this. I think this sounds like a really worthwhile and an important initiative. I think the thing that I'm perhaps not yet fully clear on, or that I'll be watching with real interest, is exactly how that connecting up with the consumer is going to work. To what extent this is going to be something that actually has a consumer-facing element. How do you communicate that? I completely get its value, and I think it clearly has a value even just on a B2B level, being able to provide that kind of assurance. But when these sort of big projects are being worked on, obviously everyone's sort of thinking about how do you justify a premium for British, potentially, how do you really make sure that consumers understand the difference when they're buying into UK produced meat. So I have no sense from the description here of exactly how that's going to be brought to life. So that to me is the big question. I'll be really interested to see what they've got planned for this. I don't know whether you've heard, either of you has heard anything about what they have planned in this regard.
I would have thought it will be down to those individual supply chains to promote it themselves. And I guess you think of best in class that have done this is M&S, isn't it? They had such a big campaign a couple of years ago using not dissimilar technology about, knowing where your beef comes from. So you can very easily benchmark about, what they did, and these smaller supply chains look against those really.
Yeah, I think initially it's kind of a process to ensure your supply chain is absolutely secure and is what you're saying it is, and then from there, who knows where it will develop with the technology